Hey everybody, happy Thursday. Okay, so today's going to be a little bit different. If you go to your Google Classroom, you will see that there are going to be 4 different videos with 4 different quizzes. Now, this is the important part because you guys are going to be asking me this. Do I have to watch all 4 videos and take all 4 quizzes? No. You pick what you need. Okay, so there's 4 different topics over fractions. You're going to pick one of the 4. So if I go back to, let's see, I think it was Tuesday's quiz, and we look right here, it says, when it comes to learning about fractions, what do you think if you could use more practice with? Well, I got answers in every category, okay? I had 4 people say comparing fractions. I had 8 people say fractions on a number line. I had 4 people say adding and subtracting fractions. And I had 17 say that they wanted improper to mix numbers. Well, you friends that said that you needed more help with fractions on a number line, this is the video for you. So if you've already watched a video, you do not need to watch this video and take this quiz. This is only for those friends who feel like they need more help with fractions on a number line, okay? So that's exactly what we're going to be going over today. And I think that this would be great practice for when you need to click certain videos because it'll have your certain color on it. So this is where we're practicing, hey, this is the video for me. Okay, this isn't a video that's for everybody. It's a video just for you. How many videos do you have to watch? 1. How many quizzes do you have to take? 1. Okay? All right, so let's get started. We are looking at fractions on a number line. All right, so we're going to start with something basic, 2/3. Remember, the very first thing that you do when you're drawing out fractions on a number line is you go ahead and you create the whole. So you first make 0 to 1. That represents your whole. Okay? Then your denominator tells you how to section it off. Okay? Remember, we always count the spaces, never the lines. So I know that I actually need 3 different spaces. Okay. Whenever I was making those, I counted in my head 1/3, 2/3, and then I was like, 1 would be 3/3. Okay, so that's what we do as mathematicians. We count things in our heads automatically without even knowing it. Okay, so for 2/3, I drew out my number line, then I go 0 to 1, and then my denominator tells me how many sections there needs to be. So we'll count the sections. We have 1, 2, 3. Counted out those spaces or those sections, whatever you want to call them. Okay, and that indicated our denominator. Now, our numerator tells us how many lines to go over to. So now we have to look, and we'd start at 0 right here, and we count over 1, 2. Then from there, we're going to go ahead and plot it. Right there. So that would be 2/3. Well, let's count by thirds. I'd have 0, 1/3, 2/3, 3/3, or 1 whole. Okay, so that's a good warm-up for us. Let's do another example. All right, we have 8/10. Well, I'm going to go ahead and draw out my number line. The very first thing I do is I make my 0 my 1 to indicate my whole. Okay, how many spaces do you think that I need for this number line? If you said 10, you're correct. I'm going to go ahead and draw in 10 spaces. Okay. All right, I've got in my 10 spaces. Now, how I know how many to go over is what my numerator says right here. Okay, so we're going to count over 8 spaces starting at 0. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I'm going to go ahead and plot that. All right. There is my 8/10. Let's go ahead and count by tenths. So 0, 1/10, 2/10, 3/10, 4/10, 5/10, 6/10, 7/10, 8/10, 9/10, and then 10/10 or 1 whole. All right, let's do another example. Ooh, Now we're getting into addition when it comes to our number line. Okay, this is probably what you guys really need the most. So let's look at it. First off, my denominators are the same, so I know that that represents the same amount of spaces, and I know that my whole should be divided into 4 different sections. So first, I've got to label my 0 and my 1, and I need 4 spaces. So 1, 2, 3. Okay, so there's my 4 spaces. I've got 1, 2, 3, and 4. All right, we're going to start with 1/4 because that's our very first number, and we always read from left to right. So I know to go over 1 space. So this would be 1/4. And it's asking me to add 3/4. Well, it's just asking me to go over 3 more spaces. So I go 1, 2, 3. So I know that 1/4 plus 3/4 actually gives me 1 whole, or 4/4. See that? Let's do another example like that. All right, I've got subtraction this time. I have 6/9 minus 3/9. Well, I know that I've got to first draw out my whole, 0 to 1. I know that I need 9 spaces. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so there's my 9 spaces. Well, I'm going to start with my number on the left, which is 6/9. Now I count over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and plot that. So that's what I started with. Just like if you were talking about subtraction and I said, all right, you had 8 apples and I take away 4. Well, it's just like that. We're saying I have 6/9 and we're going to take away 3/9. So instead of jumping forward like we did with addition, we're going to jump backwards. So we're going to go back 3 spaces. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to plot that. So then let's count by 9ths to see where we ended up. 1/9, 2/9, 3/9, 4/9, 5/9, 6/9, 7/9, 8/9, and then it'd be 9/9 or 1 whole. I landed on 3/9. We also know the simple trick with that is just to subtract our numerator. 6 minus 3 equals 3 and keep our denominator the same. But this is a good example of how you could use that number line to solve that problem. All right, I've got a bonus for you. And it requires a mixed number. And we've got to plot it on the number line. Well, there's 2 ways to do this. Okay, you can keep it a mixed number or you could change it to an improper fraction. First, let's look at it as a mixed number. I can't draw it from 0 to 1 because this goes past 1 whole because 2 1/3 is bigger than 1, right? So I'm actually going to draw 0 to 3. So then I need this to be 1, this to be 2, and that to be 3. Now, I've got to go ahead and break it into thirds because that's my denominator. So I need 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So now there are 1, 2, 3 spaces representing that are in between my 0 and my 1. Okay? All right, so I've got, right here, I've got 1 whole, 2 holes, and then I know that my plot would be right here, 2 1/3, because this would be 1/3, 2/3, 3/3. You know, when we play Sparkle, this is the same thing. 3/3. Next would be 1 1/3, 1 2/3, 2 holes, 2 1/3, 2 2/3, and then 3 holes. Okay? Or we can keep this, we can make this into an improper fraction. So I'm going to erase all this. Let's go ahead and change this into an improper fraction. How we can do that is we take our denominator and our whole number and we multiply them. 2 times 3 is 6 plus 1 is 7. That now becomes my numerator. My denominator always stays the same. So it's 7/3 is actually that as an improper fraction. Let's plot 7/3. And draw that same number line. 0, 3. I got 1, 2. I need 3 spaces in between. Okay, so it's broken into thirds, which is what we needed because that's our denominator. Now our numerator tells us how many spaces to go forward. This isn't any different. Improper fractions should not throw you off. It's the same thing. So let's jump over 7 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Look at that. That would be 7 thirds. You could also read this as 1 third, 2 thirds, 3 thirds, 4 thirds, 5 thirds, 6 thirds, 7 thirds, 8 thirds, 9 thirds. And if you look right here, 6 divided by 3 is 2. Let me move this box if I can. There we go. I said 6 divided by 3 is 2, and 9 divided by 3 is 3. Okay, so it's the same thing. So on one of our questions yesterday, it asked, what is an equivalent fraction to 14 tenths? And a lot of you guys put 10 14ths. And in fact, that's not true. All you had to do was simplify it. Just like 2 1/3 is the same thing as 7 thirds. See that? 3 sevenths would not be the same thing as 7 thirds. So don't let that fool you. You can't just flip-flop your numerator and your denominator. All right, so that is my little seminar or mini lesson on fractions on a number line. Now, here's the kicker. You have to take the fractions on a number line quiz. Don't take a different quiz because I didn't just teach you about something different. I taught you about fractions on a number line. So you're going to be asked questions about fractions on a number line, okay? You pick this video, you take that quiz, and you're done. You don't have to watch any other videos. You don't have to take any other quizzes, okay? So you've watched this video because this is what you picked, and now you're going to take the quiz of fractions on a number line. Everybody got it? All right, I hope that you have a great Thursday, and it's almost the weekend. It's almost spring break, so keep working hard for me.